I want to go to Illinois now, where the governor is standing by with Jacob Soboroff, a governor who has been fighting against having federal troops come into his cities and the environs, and as a result has heard it said by the president of the United States that he should be jailed. Jacob, let me throw it over to you and the governor.
Chris, thank you so much. Governor J.B. Pritzker, thanks for joining us live on MSNBC.
How are you, Jake? Good to see you.
It's good to see you as well. You know as well as I do, the President of the United States in the last 24 hours called for you to be imprisoned. I want to give you an opportunity. We've seen your reaction on social media, but I want to hear what you have to say back to the President of the United States.
Well, let's start with the idea that this is a convicted felon. I mean, think about that, who is threatening to jail me. I got to say, this guy's unhinged, he's insecure, he's a wannabe dictator, and there's one thing I really want to say to Donald Trump. If you come for my people, you come through me, so come and get me.
What does that mean exactly, Governor? Do you believe that he would follow through or that he'll chicken out? He basically said the same thing to Governor Gavin Newsom when I was with him at the height of the raids in the Los Angeles area. Governor Gavin Newsom is walking free in the streets of California. You think that he'll chicken out, or would he ever arrest you?
Well, you know the expression, Trump always chickens out, taco. And I got to say, he can't arrest. We've done nothing wrong here. And very importantly, it's Donald Trump that is breaching the Constitution, breaking the law. We're taking him to court, and I believe we're going to win.
Right now, in the Chicagoland area, the Texas National Guard is staging for a deployment that Governor Greg Abbott has ordered. What's the latest? Do you know where they are, what they're doing at this hour?
Well, to be clear, Donald Trump ordered it and federalized those troops, and Greg Abbott's just going along. This is the same guy, by the way, Greg Abbott, who last year complained when Joe Biden tried to call up his National Guard and actually wrote a letter, signed a letter opposing that. Now he's okay with it because why? He's a lackey of Donald Trump. So we know that the Texas National Guard has been staging in Illinois. They're not yet, as far as I understand, on the streets, but I want you to know, the federal government is not communicating with our state.
They're not talking to you about where these troops are going.
It's unconscionable. This has never happened before. They're calling out troops onto the streets of a state that doesn't want them, and they're not even telling us where they're going to go, what they're going to do. This hasn't happened, I don't think, since the Civil War.
Let me ask you about the lawsuit. You have sued to stop their deployment. You didn't sue to stop National Guard on a nationwide level. You sued to, correct me if I'm wrong, just the Texas National Guard.
Actually, no. We sued to stop him from calling out the Illinois National Guard, the Texas National Guard, and all other National Guards, because it is unconstitutional.
On the streets, even before the National Guard has made it to the streets of Illinois, you've got the Border Patrol. I was in Cicero yesterday, a 90% Latino population, and I watched as they not only picked people off the streets, but family members would come up to me and ask me where their family members were. I watched you with Rachel the other night here on MSNBC, and you were talking about how CBP has basically used the justification of the 100-mile border rule to allow the deployment here, and they're saying the border of Lake Michigan, the coast of Lake Michigan is the border. Lake Michigan, many people reached out to me and said, Lake Michigan doesn't even touch Canada. Are you thinking about suing to stop the deployment of the Border Patrol here as well?
Look, I think it's important to recognize that the Trump administration doesn't seem to respect any laws in the United States. They just do what they want to do, and they'll keep doing it unless someone stops them. Here in Illinois, we're stopping it. We're doing everything that we can to push back. And yeah, they've got armed, we're talking about automatic weapons and camouflaged, and they're not soldiers, right? These are ICE and Customs and Border Patrol agents that are roaming the streets of Chicago, in downtown Chicago. Why? It's a show. It's a show of force. And why does Donald Trump want to do that? And I've said this before, and I think it's important for people to hear it. He wants to militarize major cities across the United States, especially blue cities in blue states, because he wants us to get used to the idea of military on the streets, military troops, because of their 2026 elections. I believe that he's going to post people outside of ballot boxes and polling places, and if he needs to, in order to control those elections, he'll assume control of the ballot boxes and count the votes himself. He promised to do that. He threatened to do that back in 2020. Didn't get the chance to do it. I believe he would do it in 2026.
Do you believe we'll have free and fair elections in the United States of America during the 2026 midterms?
If we all stand up and speak out, we sure as heck will. And you see there are literally hundreds of people here who are standing up to speak out. And we've seen in the No Kings protests and others, millions of people standing up. We need more.
I asked you when I saw you the other day about if the president invokes the Insurrection Act. You said you use every tool at your disposal to stop the deployment of federal troops on the streets of Chicago and throughout your state. Are you willing to direct the state police to arrest any federal officials for what they're doing here?
Look, we don't break the law here in Illinois. I'm not going to direct our state police to break the law the way that Donald Trump directs people to break the law. What we will do is fight like heck in the courts. We have to rely upon judges. And by the way, a Trump-appointed judge made the decision on Oregon and the calling out of the California National Guard. Judges will and can do the right thing. We have to rely upon our courts. I'm not looking beyond that. We have to make sure that happens. But the other thing we have to make sure that happens is we elect good people to the Congress. Because in the end, if Congress is not asking questions, holding hearings, and holding the president accountable, he will just run roughshod across our states.
What's your message, final question, to the people here of the state of Illinois, the people of the city of Chicago, as this incursion by the federal government, these troops are on the streets of your state, of this city. What do you want them to do? There's a big protest scheduled for 5:30 p.m. tonight.
Well, first, we've made sure that people know their rights and they know how to find out what their rights are, because we don't want them picked up off the streets just because they're brown or black, just because they happen to be undocumented and have committed no crimes. Remember, he said he was going after the worst of the worst. It's not going after the worst of the worst when you're just literally stopping children who happen to be brown and asking them for papers as if, they're going to have proof that they're a U.S. citizen. So first, know your rights. Second, we want everybody to pull out their phones, an Android, an iPhone, whatever you've got, and film everything you see, because we take that to court. We also show it to the public. And it's one of the reasons that so many people are speaking up and acting up in order to fight Donald Trump, because they're seeing this is not the country that we grew up in. This is not the country that we want. And so that's very important. And then lastly, again, we got to take them to court. We got to win. It looks like we're going to do that.
For someone who has been threatened with arrest by the President of the United States in the last 24 hours, it's nice to see you out here on the street with all these people, and I'm grateful for your time.
Appreciate
I know a lot of
you,
people want to talk to you. Okay, thank you. Governor J.B. Pritzker, I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Chris, the governor of the great state of Illinois, obviously a lot of people want to speak to him out here. This is a critical, crucial moment in this battle with the federal government over the deployment of not only troops, but these masked and armed federal agents here on the streets of Illinois. And I'm going to throw it back to you.
Well, if I can, Jacob, I want to ask you about a couple things. In our last hour, we talked about a couple of examples of things that had happened in Chicago. Well, multiple ones, but I'm thinking particularly about the Chicago Tribune photo. Somebody's videoing, which the governor just said, take videos, right? And has a weapon aimed at them. The Chicago Tribune has that picture. And then the clergyman, who it was reported, was praying, hands raised, eyes closed, and was shot multiple times with pepper bullets. I wonder if you've had a chance, because I know you were rushing to get over to be able to talk to the governor, but I wonder if you've had a chance to talk to the people who are in these crowds of protesters, any concerns they have, or what they're telling you about why they feel strongly enough to be there on the streets.
Chris, guys, let's just move a little bit, because the governor, actually, Chris, I'll show you, the governor's having immediate availability right behind us. Connor, just let them see that real quick. And so I just want to be out of the background of what the governor's up to. The answer to the question is, I think, first of all, number one, we can stop here, guys. Number one is that the people of Illinois obviously are out there and feel like that their rights are being infringed upon. And the governor said as much, which is why he continues to direct people to video. And these are all cases that are going to go into federal court eventually. I want to remind everybody that out at the Broadview facility, and I'm trying to see the pictures on the screen right now if that's Broadview or not, the Broadview ICE Detention Center where the mother of Samantha and Mario and Daniel were taken after they were arrested, as you and I talked on the air yesterday, has been a flashpoint for a lot of these aggressive enforcement tactics. Pepper balls being shot at journalists, as you said, guns being drawn in certain areas, less lethal weapons being drawn on civilians. This is now almost like an everyday occurrence, and I think that on the contrary to deterring people from being out in the streets, it has emboldened people to be out on the streets, and so you're not really seeing sort of any shortage of that. And I think that, as I mentioned to the governor, there's a protest scheduled for 6:30 p.m. on the East Coast tonight, 5:30 p.m. here. He's telling people to be out there. People are mobilizing, and I think we'll be out there. And so these types of confrontations, while they might continue, I actually don't think that they're slowing people down at all. I think it's making people more likely to want to be out into the streets.
Imagine the President of the United States calling for a sitting governor to be jailed. Not behind closed doors, not whispered, but said publicly in front of the entire country. That's exactly what just happened. And tonight, Illinois Governor J.B. Pritzker didn't hold back. In a fiery on-air exchange with Jacob Soboroff, Pritzker called Donald Trump a convicted felon, insecure, and a wannabe dictator, and then delivered the line that's now ricocheting across social media. If you come for my people, you come through me. So come and get me. That wasn't political posturing. That was a direct challenge. Governor versus president, state versus federal power. And it's happening as troops are reportedly massing just outside Chicago, staging under an order that Pritzker says Trump himself gave, not Texas Governor Greg Abbott. The Illinois governor claims the feds are refusing to even tell him where those troops are headed, something he says hasn't happened since the Civil War. Think about that for a second. Federalized troops preparing to deploy inside a state that explicitly said, "We don't want them." And the governor, the state's top elected leader, is being kept in the dark. When pressed on whether Trump would actually follow through and arrest him, Pritzker smirked. Trump always chickens out, but his tone shifted fast, warning that the former president is breaking the Constitution and vowing to take him to court. Lawsuits have already been filed to block both the Texas and Illinois National Guards from being federalized, with Pritzker calling the move flat-out unconstitutional. Meanwhile, residents across Chicago are filming what's unfolding. Armored federal agents in camouflage, automatic weapons slung across their chests, patrolling city streets. Not soldiers, but ICE and Border Patrol operating under the 100-mile border rule, which somehow defines Lake Michigan as a border. It's a legal loophole critics say Trump is exploiting to send federal forces deep into blue cities. And Pritzker's warning goes even further. He believes this show of force isn't about immigration at all. He says it's a dry run, conditioning Americans to accept troops on city streets before the 2026 elections. His words, he wants to militarize blue cities because he wants us to get used to it. I believe he'll post troops at polling places. When asked whether Americans can still have free and fair elections, Pritzker said yes, but only if people stand up and speak out. And judging by the crowds gathering in Chicago tonight, many are doing exactly that. The governor urged protesters to film everything, every raid, every stop, every arrest, to document what's happening and take it to court. From pepper bullets fired at clergy to journalists caught in crossfire, this confrontation between state and federal power is escalating by the hour. And as the cameras roll and the lawsuits pile up, one thing is clear. This isn't just about Illinois anymore. It's about whether the balance between democracy and force holds, or breaks, right before our eyes. That's it for today's video. Thanks so much for sticking with me until the end. If you enjoyed this breakdown, make sure to tap that like button, subscribe if you haven't already, and share this video so more people can join the conversation. Your support is what keeps this channel going. And together we're building a community that looks deeper than the headlines. See you in the next one.